My name's Leo and I'm a boat builder and a sailor, and I'm on a mission to rebuild and restore this 108-year-old classic sailing yacht, Tally Ho. Now last week's video was a little different, as just before that video I had a bit of an accident. But I'm on the mend and we're back to work, so I'm going to talk a bit about that accident, but before that I'm going to catch up on the work that happened prior to it. So for those of you that might be new to this project, this is a construction drawing of the boat Tally Ho, and you can see here the keel at the bottom. I've already replaced that with a large piece of purple heart, and now we're replacing the frames or the ribs of the boat, and they are the upright pieces in this drawing, and on this drawing you can see they're the curved pieces which make up the frame of the boat and take the planks on the outside and then connect down to the keel on the bottom. Now at the moment I've got a couple of volunteers here working with me, Steve and Ben, and they've been helping me to cut out the futtocks, assemble the frames and fasten them together with black locust trunnels, which are essentially wedged pegs. Isn't that right, Pancho? So yeah, before we paint these, we're going to put a few trunnels in halfway, so just through one of these pieces, and that will place them. I broke one.
What's gonna happen now?
Now we take you out the back.
Pack your bags.
Flog you. Let's have a look. Yeah, so we'll knock that one out from the other side.
Okay. Not the right moment.
Oh, really?
No pressure.
You finding you're scratching the wood?
Yes.
Try putting another piece of tape on the back of the saw.
Yeah?
Yeah. What have you just been doing there?
So just transferring the lofting lines onto the frame. So mainly the water lines and the buttock lines, and also where it sits on top of the keel.
I'm removing frame number 14. Things are falling. Because we've got the new frames waiting inside to be installed in. Yeah, I'm just removing these old lads here. They are going to retirement.
Very good.
rotten old boat.
So it can be hard to keep track of exactly what frame we're working on, but frame 14 is in the boat and just getting it bedded down and fitted finally. This is frame for station 15 that the guys are just cutting out. They've all been marked out, thickness, plane, and just cutting them out, and then we'll be assembling them later on today hopefully.
This is the tea horn to tell everyone that it's time for a cup of tea.
Go on then, give it a blast.
Whoa!
So we've got a bit of a problem with the saw. The bottom of the pit is filling up with water.
So you've been digging?
Been digging, yeah.
Awesome. Did we check if the pump actually works yet?
No.
Well, the frames are coming along nicely and going in the boat, and I'm now cutting a notch for the 6th new pair of frames. I'm actually starting to notch them into the keel a little bit deeper now, and that's because at this point, when the keel's in its finished shape, it's actually going to be slightly narrower than it is now, so I have to cut the pockets deeper now and set the frames back into the pockets a little bit more, so that when I've cut the keel to its final shape later on, the frames are still going to be notched into that the right distance. Now, one thing that's not maybe immediately obvious is that every time we put a new frame in, we have to manipulate all the planks and the beam shelf, the clamp, to actually allow it to fit in its new position. So when we're doing that, we're taking out clamps and screws and basically wedging and blocking these planks out more to allow the frame to sit in its proper position. And I'm also making sure that the frames are exactly the right height, of course, and exactly the right distance from the centre line. And I'm doing that by using the water lines and buttock lines that I've scribed onto the frame from the lofting floor. And I'm matching those up with all the other water lines and buttock lines using the laser level. Right guys, well I've done something pretty stupid and cut off the end of one of my fingers. I'm going to show you the hand, so if you're squeamish or maybe if you've got little kids around, they might want to look away now. So here it is, and then I'm going to talk about it afterwards. So you can see I cut off the end of my middle finger on my right hand. Alright, well it's safe to keep watching now. That's all the gore you're going to see. I cut off about ½ an inch, maybe slightly more than that, through the bone. And although I can't tell you right now exactly how I did it, what I can tell you is that it was an accident and it was entirely my fault. I take full responsibility and full blame for chopping my own finger off. Now I think risk is a really important part of human experience and learning, and from when we're children, you know, all the way up through adulthood, we're constantly learning by taking risks and finding out that when those risks go wrong, we may injure ourselves or hurt ourselves, and that's how we learn not to do it next time. Now unfortunately, I think we live in an increasingly risk-adverse society. So people, and especially children, are encouraged never to take risks if at all possible. Now what that does, in my opinion, is it perhaps reduces injuries slightly, it probably reduces accidents slightly, but it also hugely harms the learning process, I think. If you don't take risks, then you don't learn things for yourself. You're constantly going off what someone else has told you. I think some of my most rewarding and character building experiences have come from taking risks. I've been traveling alone around the world since I was a teenager, and constantly put in dodgy or risky situations, and putting myself in those situations most of the time, and those risks don't always pay off, but ultimately you learn from them and you get more experience. So when it comes to my finger, of course I'm annoyed that I cut off the end of my finger, but I think personally living a life that's full of experience and where you learn from your own mistakes and make your own decisions is worth losing a finger or two here or there, or even worse. Well, it's time for Steve and Ben to head out, and they're heading on to other adventures now.
Oh, I really do appreciate a lot of things that I got handy with, and
Yeah, you feel you learnt a bit?
yeah, definitely. My interest in boat building just started as a random curiosity. Now I feel like, okay, I know what I'm about to work my way towards.
And you think you're going to continue to work towards doing more boat building?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I haven't put you off.
No.
I'll have to try harder next time.
Well, Checker cooks well, so
Yeah, that's true.
that's worth it to come back for.
You reckon we'll see you again, Steve?
Very much hope so. Yeah.
The last week or two has been a bit odd because of my finger.
Well, I think it gives us a lot of independence, and when we have to do things ourselves. I'm not saying that cutting your finger off is a good thing, but yeah, we definitely learn to work in a different way.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it, and hope to see you both again.
No doubt. I will shake your hand. But,
Yeah, left hand. Awesome.
thank you very much.
Alright, so I'm standing underneath the finished roof, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. After a lot of consideration, I decided that we'd have the roller-furler part of the roof on the bottom. Now there are a few reasons for that. One of those reasons is that if we had it at the top, the height of the roller would have made a sort of a lip on the bottom of the main shed roof, which would not allow snow to fall off the top shed roof. The other reason is just that the more bits of string and line and the more complicated it is, the more there is to go wrong and the more there is to design. So having the roller at the bottom really meant that we were making it a bit simpler because it could be turned by hand without having sort of bits of string to try and roll it up and down. And then the third and probably most important reason is that having the roller on the bottom means that you have gravity on your side when you're trying to get rid of the roof and roll it up. And that's important because, as sailors will know from reefing sails, it's very easy to leave it too late, and then usually what happens is by the time you want to remove a sail or a roof, there's already quite a bit of wind, so you need all the help you can get to furl it in. So if we ever get really heavy snow here or really strong winds, I can furl that away even on my own if I have to. That's going to protect the structure from any really high loading. Well, I just took the roof down to do a little bit of work on it. Of course, the wind and the rain picked up, and so I just had to put it up on my own. It was fine. It's not too difficult to do with one person. It would be easier with more. We've actually also drilled little holes in the battens either side of each of the main beams, and we've put little ties in there, short pieces of line. It's just like reefing ties on a boat really. They stay there all the time and they can be tied around the beams when the roof is up. That means the whole thing can't lift up away from the beams, and rather than acting as one big sail, it's acting as a much more rigid piece of canvas that's strapped down in many places. So this is Brad, and Brad has come up to give me a hand for a few weeks. He's coming up for 4 or 5 days a week from where he lives in Oregon.
Down there I do a little bit of construction, a little bit of woodworking. Kind of been doing some odd jobs lately, and so that's kind of why I have a bit of time right now, just in between some work. And I've been following Leo for a little bit, and I've always been fascinated by boat building, so I figured, what the heck, you know, come check out this project and see if I can learn a thing or two.
So the strut that you just saw me put up behind me here ties the beam across the top of the frames onto the actual shed. It takes a bit of time to get the new frame sets set up exactly right, and we tie a beam across the top of those to get those in the right position and hold them there relative to the centre line of the boat. And then these struts we put across onto the shed there just make sure that those, once they're all tied together, aren't going to move at all from port to starboard. And so even though the old frames might be moving, the rest of the boat might move a little bit as we work on it, those new frames should stay in exactly the right place, and they are becoming the new bones of the boat and the new strong points that we're going to tie everything to. So we're really adding strength back into the boat now, which is really satisfying. Well, some of you guys may have noticed this burgee hanging up here next to the ship saw, and this is the Albert Strange symbol. This was sent to me very kindly, and the Albert Strange Association are the people that I bought the boat off, or they gave her to me really, and they also helped out with part of the cost of moving her up here, which I'm very grateful for. Now, if you're interested in Albert Strange and the boats that he designed, including Tally-Ho and others, you may want to head over to their website and join their association yourself, or at least see what they're up to. Alright, so I just want to show you guys, we now have 7 new pairs of frames put in place in the boat. The 7th one just went in today. And what this means is we've actually now replaced every station frame in the centre section of the boat. And basically I'm framing the centre section of the boat before I do the ends, because in the bow and the stern of the boat I have to replace the centerline timbers in those areas before I can replace those frames. Now, despite the slight mishap, things are going pretty well. I'm in high spirits. It is very frustrating that this injury has slowed things down for a couple of weeks, but it's not the end of the world. I'm doing light work again now, but I'm just hoping that my finger will heal fast and well, and I'll be able to get back to full speed as soon as possible. So that's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching, and a massive thank you to everyone who's donated or otherwise supported the Tally Ho project. It makes a huge difference, and it means I'm able to take the time to make a note of these videos, so I really do appreciate it. And if I can give any advice, it would be calculate your own risks based on your own experience and life, and take responsibility for the outcomes of those risks. But if possible, do be careful. Don't chop off your fingers, because it hurts. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.